Live.
Welcome back. Hope you had a good weekend. It's Monday. We're doing Tyrion 5. I am your host, Old New Dude, and he is
Richard York, Asher's trueborn son.
as normal. You have to forgive me. I'm a little tired today because the House of Dragon last night. But I will do it as normal. The brains of the operation, Richard, will start out with what he sees in the chapter, and then I'll jump in with my stupid stuff every now and then. So take it away, Richard.
All right, the Westeros.org summary. Tyrion is held captive in one of the Eerie sky cells. Eventually, he bribes the jailer to take a message that he is ready to confess. When brought into the High Hall, Tyrion manages to convince Lady Lysa Arryn to give him a trial by combat, and the sellsword Bronn declares he will be Tyrion's champion.
That's about it. That's all that happens in the chat room.
Yeah, that's a pretty good summary of what happens.
Yeah.
You want eat? Mord asked, glowering. He had a plate of boiled beans in one thick, stub-fingered hand. I don't really have anything good to say about Mord.
I don't either.
The turnkey was 20 stone of gross stupidity with brown, rotting teeth and small, dark eyes. So there was a review of House of the Dragon recently that complained that people keep maintaining misogyny without maintaining rotting teeth, boils, or dysentery. I think it's worth pointing out that A Song of Ice and Fire has plenty of these. This is supposed to be a story about the erasing of Asherah as the Dione, illustrating the evils of patriarchy, which is both a clue and a lesson for those who need to hear it. Mord shambled backward, grinning through his rotten teeth. Again, George definitely includes rotten teeth.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I would say that the difference is, I mean, A Song of Ice and Fire is a story, and Fire and Blood is a history book. So not every other sentence are they going to say, well, she had rotten teeth, or that person had a red spot. I haven't read it, so I don't know. But I
right. Yeah. I'm not claiming that there's a whole. I mean, there's probably some of that kind of thing in history,
but not like George puts in this chapter.
But we get the details in A Song of Ice and Fire, and when he's giving you the details of characters, they have rotten teeth and bloody flux and all that. In fact, he even says, "You fucking son of a pox-ridden ass," he spat. "I hope you die of a bloody flux." So yeah, he definitely does dysentery and boils and rotten teeth and all that stuff. So
you definitely see the difference between highborn and the commoner as far as their hygiene. There's definitely that separation.
Yeah, that's part of it. All of this stuff is there for a reason, right? And the misogyny is there because that's what the story is about, right? It's about bigamy and the way Edward IV. He actually both of Edward IV's marriages were secret marriages. People refer to the first one as a pre-contract because that doesn't mean an engagement. It means a marriage. And what it means is a marriage of a bigamist. It means the real marriage of the bigamist is what it really means when they say a pre-contract. I was just reading about that. And it's great to see, by the way, them explicitly adding bigamy to House of the Dragon. they were, I don't know if you caught that last night, but I don't think that it's explicitly stated as well, we do bigamy. It's what we do as Targaryens, the way it was in the House of the Dragon. And there's an echo, there's going to be an echo, hopefully if they include it, of something resembling Ned being a bigamist, Robb not honoring his original commitment, and Rhaegar being a bigamist potentially in the story, and this wasn't it.
No, well, I mean, there were who was it? The I eat zebras. We're talking about that. Otto is not Tywin. They have different ways. One's more open about their manipulation. Otto is, and then Tywin would be. You would never know that he was the one behind the manipulation. And my question was, in Fire and Blood, is Otto's behavior, his manipulation, as obvious as it is in the show, or is it like a history book and there's a lot of that?
Yeah, it's I mean, in particular, the whole concept of this being a biased history is that it's biased in favor of the Hightowers, right? And
Right.
yet, still, the readers tend to come away with the Hightowers as the bad guys, despite the fact that it's biased in their favor.
Yeah, well, apparently we're waiting to see mushrooms, so
Yeah, it's too bad we're probably not going to see Mushroom.
nah.
That was one of the things people were. I think Preston specifically was saying that he really misses Mushroom. He misses the fact that there were some lighthearted moments where Tyrion was kind of joking around in the first, in the early episodes, including the first episode, right?
Right.
And that there's not a whole lot of joking. There's a little bit of joking. There was especially, Damon likes to tweak Otto, and he was definitely kidding around a little bit in the first episode.
Yeah.
All right, where were we? We did the bloody flux.
Speaking of including such ugliness as.
Oh yeah, here we go. I'll kill you myself, I swear it. A Lannister always pays his debts, so he will suggest Mord receive the rest of what is owed in a future chapter, and it might be that he's thinking that what he's owed is fulfilling this this. So this could be eventual foreshadowing in Winds or later potentially.
Uh-huh.
For a small man, he'd been cursed with a dangerously big mouth, he reflected. The Quiet Lion is a popular theory that each Lannister sibling is losing their primary weapon, and that Tyrion's primary weapon is his tongue. And so this could be foreshadowing of that.
Now, is all the foreshadowing about his tongue, or is there any foreshadowing about his mind?
It's pretty much his tongue.
Okay, because when you got
yeah, I get what you're saying. You're saying, he said my mind is like a whetstone and things.
So
but
yeah.
I don't think there's anything that implies that he's going to be brain damaged. I think it's more.
No, I'm talking about losing his sanity and.
Yeah, you're right, because he kind of does.
He's going down a dark.
Well, he's sort of the opposite.
Would be darker than Arya's.
Yeah, he's sort of the opposite of Jaime, right? Jaime's like, this villain has decided to be good, and Tyrion's like, I wish I were the monster, and then he kind of becomes that.
Right. I mean, I was telling, I know I keep talking about Twitter, but that's about the only way I can talk to people about Game of Thrones or A Song of Ice and Fire. And, shit, I just lost the thought. Never mind.
That's all right. It happens. He was a bee. Yeah, he was a bee in a stone honeycomb, and someone had torn off his wings. So this could be dragon foreshadowing potentially. I'd prefer to lose the Chimera half Targaryen father, half Lannister father theory as George removes the weeds of winter, but there's definitely some seeds. Yeah.
Well, I mean, out of the Tyrion Tywin kids, I mean, he's the obvious go-to. This one's got Targaryen blood type. He's the automatic. He's the base.
I really don't want him to. I want it to be more clear that he's Tywin's, right?
Yeah.
And if he really does do the Chimera type, the reason it would be there would be to to fulfill the concept that he killed his own biological father and that he's able to get along with the dragons, right? I mean, if he goes that way, I think that would be the point of Tyrion's DNA would be to be Brown Ben gets along with the dragons. Yeah. So if Tyrion sort of has two biological fathers as a Chimera, he would potentially get along with the dragons while still having killed his biological father potentially.
Right. Now on that, I know it's not part of this chapter, but it's not a long chapter. But on that point, if he is half Targaryen on his father's side or quarter Targaryen on his father's side, and he's able to ride a dragon, do we want him to be able to ride a dragon? I mean, is
not really.
Going? Okay.
No.
I think that would put him completely over the edge on the pirate trip.
Yeah. I agree.
He might be the one that burns down King's Landing.
Yeah, especially since I still see him as a potential candidate for Sansa at the end. So I can't. Maybe even as I think we've discussed, maybe even as her official husband, who's off in King's Landing, and she's actually there's definitely. It feels like in the history, the concept of the sworn sword is actually the one who's with the the lady or the queen and the real father kind of
Yeah.
thing. You could see Sandor as her sworn sword, and Tyrion is officially her husband off in the south, and it's kind of ambiguous as to who will be the father of her children, kind of thing. I don't know.
Right.
That's just as I try and imagine the end of this story. That's kind of one
Her children will
potential candidate.
suspiciously look like a Clegane.
Yeah, that's one potential idea, right? And then it'd be funny because the kids would be really tall.
Really tall. Well, she has auburn hair, and Tyrion's is black and almost bleach blonde, and they come out tall and brown headed. It would be like, I know there's in the House of the Dragon, whatever, Fire and Blood, there is that parallel with somebody having kids that don't look like they're supposed to.
Yeah, and I've discussed with you how I don't actually think that's true, but I think it's the Coconut God who first wrote that up on Reddit. Is like, no, guys, actually, all these clues don't actually point the way they're supposed to. Anyway,
Okay.
God save me, some previous tenant had written on the wall in something that looked suspiciously like blood, "The blue is calling." Later, a few more nights of cold and hunger, and the blue would start calling to him too. And then, in A Dance with Dragons, in Tyrion's 8th chapter, too much blue, dark and deep and forbidding, beautiful in a chilly sort of way. But when he looked at it too long, Tyrion found himself musing on how easy it would be to slip over the gunwale and drop down into that darkness. Tyrion Lannister sighed. Oh, wait, sorry, we're back on to the story here.
Yeah.
Tyrion Lannister sighed. His sister was not without a certain low cunning, but her pride blinded her. She would see the insult in this, not the opportunity. And Jaime was even worse, rash and headstrong and quick to anger. His brother never untied a knot when he could slash it in two with his sword. I think these are reasonable estimates of where his siblings are in their arcs at this point in the story.
Right.
And Tyrion has seen his capture as an opportunity to make the realm feel that that the Aarons and the Starks have broken the peace and offended everyone and so forth. Right? He's wanting this to be an opportunity to make sure that it costs the Starks and Aarons politically,
Right.
and he's realizing that instead his siblings are likely to go off flying off the handle and make the realm turn against the Lannisters.
Right. They'll bungle it.
Right, which of course they do.
Now, I wonder if you could make you know how you got the three different metals, steel, iron, and copper with the Baratheon boards? I wonder if there's a metal comparison between that you could do with Jaime, Cersei. Excuse me, do it in order. Cersei, Jaime, and then Tyrion. I just thought of it. I didn't actually think of which metals you could use, but it just popped in my head.
Well, if there's some similar metaphor we could come up with to illustrate. Right. I mean, in general, what I would like to say is that Girls Gone Canon, I think it was the one that said this. If you were to look up narcissism in the I'm blanking on the psychiatry manual thing, but you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah. It would be Cersei is basically narcissism personified. Jaime is basically narcissist personified. Okay. So narcissism is named after a mythological character who would basically fall in love with anything that reflected him. Yeah. So including in some versions of the story, his twin sister. And then Tyrion, I don't know. I mean, I guess he's as we said, he's sort of a relatively heroic character with some clear evil in him, who is kind of deciding to turn evil. And I don't know that there's a good parallel for that.
No, I don't think so either. Right.
He wondered which of them had sent the footpad to silence the Stark boy, and whether they had truly conspired at the death of Jon Arryn. If the old hand had been murdered, it was deftly and subtly done. Men of his age died of sudden illness all the time. In contrast, setting some oath with the stolen knife after Brandon Stark struck him as unbelievably clumsy. And wasn't that peculiar, come to think on it? Tyrion shivered. Now there was a nasty suspicion. Perhaps the direwolf and the lion were not the only beasts in the woods. And if that was true, someone was using him as a cat's paw. Tyrion Lannister hated being used. So we've spoken quite often about how Mance may have framed Robert, but without a doubt, Littlefinger redirected the frame to Tyrion. As Tyrion says, making an old man look like he died naturally is pretty easy. But making Bran look like he died naturally would be even easier. They're expecting him to die at any moment. Only a fool would arm a common footpad with his own blade, or more importantly, with any blade, when the victim is expected to die at any moment.
A pillow would work.
Yes, and we see with Dany, and she murders her husband, or actually Mercy kills him, which is kind of what this would have been, with a pillow, right?
Right.
He would have to talk himself free. His mouth had gotten him into this cell. It could damn well get him out. So saying outright the basis for the quiet lion theory.
That's all over the place, man.
The inspiration came to Tyrion Lannister suddenly. Tell her that I wish to confess my crimes. So this is probably just the way Tyrion thinks, but it could be. We're doing the hidden fingers gesture if anybody's just listening.
Yeah. Sorry, I didn't get my shirt on. Yeah, as soon as that was what popped in my head too. Because I was looking at it. There's not a whole lot in this chapter that could be hidden fingers, but that's definitely one of the possibilities.
Yep.
I think there's another one just a little bit later too.
Yep. I think so.
Okay.
Others sported sigils he did not know. So others, those who swear to serve the High Lords, give up some of their freedom, like the others. In the rear of the hall, Bronn lounged beneath a pillar. The free rider's black eyes were fixed on Tyrion, and his hand lay lightly on the pommel of his sword. Tyrion gave him a long look, wondering. Shot? You could, the old new dude would put a feather in the cap, or hold that thought for a moment, but we'll go with shot. Okay.
Right.
He does not look broken to me, Lady Catelyn said. Cat is observant, but time for the chaser. Bring back out that feather in the cap. Hold that. Bring back out that thought we had you hold a second ago. And now to roll the dice, he thought with another quick glance back at Bronn. Chaser. There it is.
Stop for a second. Roll the dice. He's even playing his life like Sybast, and he don't even know it yet.
Yeah, he's basically saying, this is my one chance, and I'm going to take it, right? This is the best chance I see. It's a little risky, but it's the best chance I see, so I'm going to take that risk.
Right, but he's planning out moves, which he didn't plan too far on this one. But yeah, go ahead.
Yep. Lysa, I think this unwise, Catelyn Stark said as the black wind swirled around the hall. Lady Stoneheart doesn't believe in trials. You can just ask Merritt Frey, Podrick Payne, Hyle Hunt, Brienne of Tarth. They've all seen this. This is why I keep saying I expect Jaime to be as dead as Davos, Gregor Clegane, Bran, or Rickon in the beginning of the Winds of Winter. The question was, take the sword and slay the Kingslayer, sword of the noose. Choose, right? It's not. We want you to go bring Jaime back alive so we can put him on trial and offer him trial by combat or trial by the Seven or whatever. It's like, I don't understand why everybody's fixated on that. They think that Jaime is supposed to be paralleling his siblings in their trial. He's not. He's paralleling Davos. He's got the hand symbolism of justice.
Holy shit! Sorry. Okay.
No, go for it.
Bear with me.
Yeah.
In Davos, it's the cut hand fingers that prove that Davos was dead. But the golden hand. Okay, is that where you were going with that?
Yeah, that's where I'm thinking. I've said that before. I think she might show up with somebody's head, as Jaime says. There's no shortage of bones around, right? So she could show up with a rotted head that maybe had blonde hair. Find some rotting head with blonde hair, right? Yeah. And Jaime's golden hand, right? And if there's somebody who's been sent to spy on her, kill him. And if he has blonde hair, then use his head.
What color hair does Lemon Cloak have?
So anyway, my point is, I think she shows up with a head a head with blonde hair that's rotted beyond recognition, and a golden hand, because that would match what's happened with everybody else who's had my point of bringing up Davos and Gregor and Bran and Rickon. Every
Yeah.
one of those people said they were going to kill this person, and then proved they killed the person, usually with their skull.
Or unrecognizable body.
Yep. Then there was
Yep.
a stirring in the rear of the chamber. I'll stand for the dwarf, Braun called out. Probably no hidden fingers required, but we always have to wonder.
Yep, this is true. Well, I mean, that Vargas guy has silvering hair, so he's probably looking at, well, that's an older knight. I'm young and spry. I can probably pull this off and make a lot of money off of Tyrion.
Yep.
So, I don't know about the hidden. I'm all about some hidden fingers, but
Right. That's what I'm saying. Both cases, I feel like it's the way those characters think.
yeah.
But as I said, we always have to wonder.
Well, see, that's the thing about hidden fingers. It's got to be something that the person would possibly come up on their own with, anyways. I mean,
yeah, that's what you've been saying, is that you don't believe
it has to be a decision.
And I think that matches the concept, right? The concept of George and the quantum leap style of time travel is that where we have the opportunity to change is in people's free will, but that doesn't mean you can bend their will to go against what they would ever think of doing. It's that they were sort of 50-50 on a decision, and you chose to make it the other way, right? They sort of came up with it, or were close to coming up with it, and you were like giving them a little nudge that goes in that direction.
It's borderline mind control. Yeah, but it's borderline not.
Right. I mean, and that's the concept of this kind of time travel. It's that your consciousness can make very minor modifications right in where those gaps are of people's free will, right? And saying, okay, you can kind of nudge them, but your point is you can nudge them in the direction that's in their character. This isn't about erasing the characters and who they are and the decisions they make. It's about giving them little nudges in a direction that matches their personality, their character.
Right. Like I said, I mean, I know I'm in the small number of people. The three-eyed crow that visited Littlefinger knows what Littlefinger wants. What does Littlefinger want? Cat. Well, what has he got to do to get Littlefinger to do what he wants him to do? Is dangle Cat out in front of him, and Littlefinger's going to do those decisions that put him at the end of the crossroads, see Rhaegar, tell Brandon. I mean, it's all maneuvering Littlefinger to get an outcome that is not. I mean, it's not going to directly affect Littlefinger, but it is something that, well, if he had the idea or had the idea to begin with, well, I could go do this, I can do that, I can do that. All he's got to do is just keep pointing him towards Cat, and he's going to make the decision that he needs. The three-eyed crow needs him, three-eyed crow needs him to make to get in position to affect everything on a grand scale. He's the quarter rolling down the street that starts the chain reaction to get us to Robert's rebellion. So I'm sorry, I won. I know.
No, that's all right. I mean, that's what we're here to talk about. But
I get a goosebumpy, and every time, man, I get goosebumps at the end of these things. But yeah, I mean, as soon as we start talking hidden fingers, my brain just starts rabbit hole. So yeah, I love rabbit holes.
Well, one of the things that'll be interesting to look at in House of the Dragon is that Preston has theorized that maybe Kristen Cole is the father of the kids.
Oh,
he likes the idea that the Kingmaker may actually have literally made a king.
Wow. That'd be definite. Is there a mirror of that in our current story?
So a lot of people say that Kristen Cole really is the Jaime of the story. That that Damon is actually more Oberyn Martell, and that Kristen is more Jaime.
Okay.
So that would certainly make him logically.
Yeah, I know they're not copies of the story, which would
right. I mean, he always twists it around and stuff, right? I mean,
right. There's still rhyming and stuff going on with the feel of a certain scene, I guess you would say.
Yeah. I mean,
it feels familiar, but it's a little different.
Right. And like you said, it's not like Otto's just a carbon copy of Tywin. He's very different from Tywin, but he's clearly somewhat reminiscent of Tywin, right? And so Daemon isn't a carbon copy of the Red Viper. I mean, the Red Viper is named the Red Viper because he murdered a person when it was supposed to be just a friendly duel of first blood, basically. Or maybe it's not really friendly when you're literally trying to make somebody bleed, but he escalated it to lethality, right? He killed a man, and yet most people like him. I mean, he's famous for being kind of an evil murderer, and most people like him. And why do we like him? Because he goes on to do some pretty cool stuff, right?
Right. Well, this story is a litmus test on yourself personally. Some of the stuff you're willing to.
It's funny how people try and cope with some of these things, right? Like I thought it was hilarious. Somebody asked that question on Reddit recently, like how do people cope? And one of the people, while listing how people cope, claimed, and with a straight face, without irony, that people didn't realize that Cat was just ignoring Jon. I'm like, yeah, I always think a half a dozen times whenever I have to go near somebody who ignores me, how terrified I am to go near them, right? Because I might be ignored. And people, and my brother would express concern that I had to interact with this person who consistently ignored me, because that makes sense.
Yeah, I'm scared of being ignored too. Oh goodness.
I'm not as terrified as Jon. I mean, it's not fun to be ignored, I'll grant you, but I'm not nowhere near the terrified level that Jon is. I'm going near somebody who has a tendency to ignore me. Yeah,
I'm usually too loud to ignore, so I mean, I got that going for me.
Anyway, I thought it was hilarious. This guy's literally claiming that the fandom is like I think he even basically said, "Oh, people are coping with their misogyny by claiming that Catelyn is abusive towards Jon, when really she's probably just ignoring him." Yes, those people are coping. Yes,
she's shooting lasers out of her eyes at him. She probably. She sent that boy running on how many times?
That's pretty hilarious. And I think George does this too, by the way. In fact, I think he's done it with Catelyn. So there's actually an annotation in the annotated iBooks that she wasn't normally that mean to Jon. Like George, I think you fell in love with Catelyn as the story went on, and so when it came time to put out the annotated iBooks, you decided to retcon the idea that, oh, this is the one time when she was mean. I'm like, that literally doesn't make any sense, right? Like we said, I mean, he's not in terror of Catelyn because this is the first time she's ever been mean to him. He's not in terror of Catelyn because she's been ignoring him. It's clear a pattern of abuse here.
Right. That'd be like covering a NASCAR race and going to take a left turn, left turn, left turn, left turn, left turn. Then he took a right to win. No bullshit. That didn't happen. He took a left turn. Hey, you want to do a quick review of last night's House of the Dragon?
Yeah.
Spoilers. Save me from doing a second video.
Sure.
I was shocked that they did go with the 12-year-old possible engagement. That the Game of Thrones show tried to age people up. And to avoid that, well, it's a kid and a kid type situation.
Yeah.
So that was definitely an eye opener. So I don't think House of the Dragon is holding anything back.
Right.
You got the shocker last week with the C-section. The fight was. I mean, they're going the extra mile to make you talk about it come Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday until there's time for another episode. So
yeah, and they have a 22-year-old actress playing the 14-year-old Rhaenyra, right?
Right.
And yet they looked like they had a 12-year-old playing a 12-year-old.
Well, I mean, they say that she's 15, the king's daughter.
Well, but it's been
Princess.
6 months, so I think she was supposed to be probably
No,
supposed to be
he
14 when it
said
started.
last night that she was. I'm scared I'd rather face Blurry on the Dread
Yeah.
than face my 15-year-old daughter.
Right,
So
right. But I
her and
mean,
Alex,
probably
yeah,
she's. I mean, it's been half a year, right? They specifically say it's been half a
yeah,
year. So
15, 16 years old. But the person looks young, but they don't look 15, 16. So it's
yeah,
you don't automatically draw that comparison to 15, 16-year-old. When that girl was standing there saying that, my mama said, I ain't got to sleep with you.
but I've
That's,
seen 14 or 15-year-olds that wouldn't get carded too, right? I
yeah,
mean,
that's true. But still, I mean, you don't think about it with Allison and I know they said that Allison was aged down to be closer to the princess, but I mean,
yeah,
I don't see them and think 15, 16. I think 21, 22, something like that.
right.
But that was great that they went there with it, and then the freaking dragon on dragon. Hey, that was the best scene I've seen this season so far. Is those two dragons on that walkway with Damien, with Otto. I mean, she came in there and just shut shit down so quick it wasn't even funny.
Yeah,
She
where it was like, if there's going to be blood, let's make it be what you really
right
want, right? If you want to be heir, you got to kill me,
there you
right?
go.
There shouldn't be any other blood.
She
If you,
is without a doubt one of the most intelligent people I've seen on the show so far. Uh, I think she could hold her own with Otto if people let her go.
yeah,
But the the continuing of the rotting of Duflachi's finger, and they didn't talk about his back, but I
right.
still think that they're messing with him. I
That could
still
be.
think. I mean, granted, in the books you get someone died of a bellyache, but you don't get any details up till then. Well, the Maester saw him every day, and then you keep that side eye looking at
Yeah,
Otto.
yeah.
You don't get that in the book.
I mean, that's why all these theories exist. Is because, right? It's all this Grandmaster conspiracy, Old Town conspiracy,
Oh yeah,
whatever you want to call it, right? I mean, it exists um, because it seems like it's possible, and because this is a story where conspiracies don't necessarily get out, right?
right.
In the real world, I tend to be very skeptical of conspiracy thinking because what is it? I think is it Benjamin Franklin that said two men can keep a secret if one of them's dead.
Oh, that's pretty good. The other scene I liked was the princess with the king or the queen that never was, and her
Yeah,
telling her that you're never going to sit in the throne.
yeah,
Basically,
that was quite a bit different from the trailer, right? I mean,
yeah,
I was
yeah,
we'd seen snips of that, but they were somewhat out of context, and so it wasn't clear what was going on, and this
yeah,
was it was good to finally find out, what is that conversation really about and so forth, right?
yeah. And I saw someone this morning. They were talking about the uh, was it Harwin Strong or whatever that's on the council, and the king goes and talks
That's
to him and asks him.
I think it's a
His
different
opinion.
strong that's on the council, but yeah,
Right, right. It's one of the Strongs. I'm terrible with names as House of the Dragon, except for Viserys. Um, what should I do? And she's 12 years old, and he's like, marry her. So he called the guy in there to ask his opinion and then ignore it.
yeah. I mean, I think the history book basically says the entire council urged him to marry Lena.
Right. I
So
think he just wanted somebody to agree with him, and they didn't do it.
they didn't really give his full motivation for not going that way in this story the way they did in the book. So in the books it's sort of implied that the Maesters had warned him that the reason he was having so much trouble with Emma Aaron was that he had wedded her and vetted her too early, that he really should have let her hips develop and so forth, and that and so then having everybody push a 12-year-old on him after she dies,
Well,
it's like,
isn't she older
really?
in the books?
No,
No, she's 12.
12.
Damn.
Well, and like I said, he would definitely not be consummating the marriage for years.
Yeah, but I mean, I like the first episode better than last night, except for the dragon on dragon scene.
Yeah,
But last night,
it wasn't nearly as powerful, right? I mean, the first
right,
episode was
right.
so
It was more.
powerful.
I think it was more setting up what's coming next.
Well,
Um,
as we mentioned at the beginning, I did really like the fact that they were explicitly talking about bigamy.
yeah, well, I mean, it can't all be action. It can't all be swords. It can't all be dragons. And I predict that we will see a dragon, at least one dragon, in every episode.
Oh yeah,
It's the House of Dragons. So they're gonna make sure we get to see the dragons.
sure.
Yeah, I'm one of those. I have to watch it on my tablet. I know they went for super realism and all. It's the first episode. I felt like it to me. It just looked like modern day stop motion sometimes.
Yeah, you mentioned that. You said that they gave too much detail on the dragons to not have them be
They were
blurred
too
when they're moving,
clean.
right?
Yeah, they were too clean for the surrounding environment.
Yeah.
I think they needed one more, whatever it is. They sent them to resolution to add a little bit of not dirt, but just darkness here and there type situation. The resolution or whatever it is.
Or figure out
But
how to make the blurring match the motion.
Right. I mean, if it's hazy on the characters, it should be hazy on the dragons.
Yeah, that's where stop action has
better.
always looked like that, right? It's like you said, it's the problem with stop action. It's that when you're doing a 24 or 30 frames per second video, part of it is the fact that the motion is blurry in the areas where it's fastest, and thus when you see stop action combined with real video,
Right.
it looks wrong because it doesn't have that blur to it. And so your argument was that you were seeing the same kind of thing here, where they've given too much precise detail in the dragons, such that when they're moving, it's not blurring the same way it would with real motion, right?
It feels superimposed on the scene almost. But last night I thought they looked better. I don't know if it was just different or if after they did the pilot they changed something type situation. I don't know. But yeah, they looked a little bit better last night in my opinion. But other than that, I mean, I'd give it a 8.5 out of 10, and last week's I'd give a 9 out of 10. So
yeah, it's like Preston said, there were problems with the first episode, but they also had that powerful television where arguably making a political statement about how the king is the state, and the state shouldn't be taking away choice, right?
Right.
And so you can feel emotionally how wrong it is for the state to be taking away a woman's choice, as it were. So yeah, it's an interesting, powerful episode, and this one is a bit of a letdown in comparison. Although I personally am somewhat biased in favor of it because I love the bigamy.
Yeah, I imagine you did. Like I said, there's got to be set up. There's set up in the story. There's set up in the books. I mean, it's there. Yeah. But the crab feeder, I don't know what he's like in the books, but dude looks wicked with that half.
Well, as of most of this it's just a history book, so it doesn't give you much, right? It just tells you a little bit about him and the fact that he fed the crabs and so forth. So we probably know as much or more about him from this what we've seen already than what you get from reading the history.
He looks wicked. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, whoever come up with the concept for him and having grayscale and the half Sons of the Harpy mask going on, and I saw a close up of his hammer. I mean, the detail they put in that dude was freaking awesome. I mean, granted, he's a bad guy. He's killing people and everything. Yeah. I'm not rooting for him or anything, but I can't wait to see him more on the screen.
This would be a first real black and white character that's black and instead of white. The gray.
Well,
the morally gray was going to be morally completely dark gray, right? So
yeah, he's done past the medium gray. A while back.
Yeah, so it'll be fun for people to have a clear enemy to root against here.
right, and I'm assuming that Corlys and Daemon. See, I can remember their two names, but
good.
And Christian. There's four guys I can remember the names of, but almost none of the ladies I can remember.
Hopefully you got Alicent and Rhaenyra, right?
Yeah, I remember. Rhaenyra gets me sometimes too, but Allison, I remember.
So the original stories are the Rogue Prince, which is about Daemon, and then the Princess and the Queen, which is about Princess Rhaenyra and Alicent, right? As obviously we now know is going to be Queen, right?
Right.
So the Princess and the Queen is about Rhaenyra and Alicent, and then the Rogue Prince would be Daemon, right? So those are the three main characters.
Right. Well, I mean, there are the most interesting characters that are in there.
Yep.
Without a doubt. I mean, I like Corlys.
Oh yeah.
The sea snake.
Yeah.
I freaking love his performance in both episodes.
Yeah.
His facial expressions. Oh my goodness, he's got to be one of those theater actors. I mean, because I don't know anything about the actor himself, but his facial expressions sell every scene that he's in. It is freaking awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of good acting going on.
Yeah, there's some really good acting going on. I thought Damien's acting the last episode, especially with the ramping up the yellow cloaks or
gold cloaks.
Gold cloaks, yeah. I was thinking Lim.
Yeah.
That scene, I mean, you can see spittle on his mouth. I mean, he's into it. That was the best scene acted in the whole episode.
This, you know
what?
You kind of, sorry, go ahead and finish your thought. That was the best scene of the whole episode. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
The best acting scene in the entire episode. Not the best scene. It was just his acting in it was without a doubt one of the best acting jobs done in that first episode, in my opinion.
Okay, we need to wrap it up pretty soon, but you just started to talk about lemon cloaks. I just wanted to say, isn't it funny that let's say you believe that lemon cloak is Richard Longmouth. So Rhaegar had like 3 or 4 really good friends, right? And one of them is specifically mentioned as Richard Longmouth. And Radio Westeros has a big long theory about that, about how it's the Knight of Skulls and Kisses would be Richard Longmouth, and how he would be, his background would pretty much match Lemon Cloak. But one of the things about Lemon Cloak is that it's specifically mentioned that it's implied that he's like a king's guard, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if you remember, but they say I think that's really just a urine stained cloak, and if we wash that off, we'd find out you're actually a secret king's guard.
There
right?
You go. Yeah.
And so of course that makes a lot more sense if in fact you're supposed to realize that the Kingsguard are alive, right? And so it kind of ties into the fact that up next, our next episode, on the next episode of Old Dude and Richard York, we'll have the Green Bard to discuss the Tower of Joy, and so I'm sure there will be much discussion of the fact that
I doubt we get to the conversation between Robert and Ned. I think it's all going to be on the tower.
I don't know. Some of the flashbacks to the tower actually occur during the conversation where Ned's like thinking about things and stuff,
right.
Or at least after he wakes up, right? He's thinking about the.
I wrote more notes on the next chapter than I have on any chapter we've done so far. I want to make sure I was on my A game. We're taping tomorrow night. It'll be recorded. It'll be released Wednesday at 12 is the plan. And it might even have to be a 2-parter. I don't know. But all right, that's it. I've been Old Dude. He's been
Richard York, Asher's Trueborn son.
We will see you Wednesday. Have a good one.
Sounds good.